Hi ladies, it's Kristen Burgess from naturalbirthandbabycare.com, and today I want to talk to you about how Ina May Gaskin's book, Spiritual Midwifery, helped me have 5 fast, easy natural births. With my first 3 babies, I do not think that birth went very fast or necessarily very smoothly, especially not the pushing stage. By the time I got to baby number 4, I had spent a lot of time reading this book and pouring through different birth stories in this book. In fact, my favorite ones are dog-eared, and I would read them again and again and again. There is one story in this book that kept jumping out at me, and it is the story that I read over and over and over in my 4th pregnancy. In that story, the mom says that she wanted it to get heavy. Now, something you need to understand about spiritual midwifery, you might get a clue if you look at the cover. This book was written during the hippie era in the United States, which is when home birth and midwifery resurged as an art in the United States. But what we have in this book is a whole bunch of birth stories from a whole bunch of hippies, and they use a whole bunch of hippie language, which turns a lot of people off, but to me, it's kind of charming. Anyways, the language, I want it to get heavy, is kind of a hippie term for I am ready for this, bring it on, let's do it. And when we say that, what we're saying is, I don't care how intense this is. In fact, I welcome that intensity. And that was something that was harder for me with my first 3 babies. Things were unknown. You just don't know, and you're a little bit worried because you're going at it without any pain medications. So what I did with my 4th baby was I feel like I got through the first 3 labors okay, but the pushing stage was tough. And with this baby, I really just wanted to get on with it. I had also done it 3 times before, and I was like, okay, I've done it. I want to go through the experience, but I want to get through the experience as quickly as possible so I can get to the time where I'm holding my sweet baby. So I read the birth story in here again and again and again, and I just thought about that. I contemplated that. I want it to get heavy. Can I get to the place where I am ready for that, where I can say that at the beginning of my labor, and will it make a difference? And the answer is yes. It definitely makes a difference. When you go into labor and you let go of the fear and you let go of that kind of timidity saying, oh, it might hurt, I don't know if I want to do this, and instead just dive in and say, I want it to get heavy, or let's do this, let's just do this, then things happen because you're in a different state of mind. The thing about labor and birth that you need to realize is, unlike what you've learned probably in some of your childbirth classes or on some of those mainstream pregnancy websites, is birth is not just a mechanical process. It's not just this process of you kind of cranking open and then the baby coming out as if you could go to a mechanic's office and do it. It is way more complex than that. In fact, this is something they didn't know back at the time when this book was written, but there is an entire hormonal symphony that controls birth, and that symphony can get interrupted. Think about it. If you are making love and somebody bursts into the room, it probably interrupts things. And that's because it messes up all of those hormones. Something really similar happens when you're giving birth. When you go into birth with your state of mind ready, then you are way more prepared to just jump in, to let those hormone levels do what they need to do, to focus on birth, to get into it, to not let fear stop you or hold you back, just to go into it. And it can be intense. I am not going to tell you ladies that birth is not intense, but I also believe that my births went really smoothly, partially because I said, I'm ready to do it. And I did the mental work during pregnancy. Reading that birth story over and over again was part of that mental work. And going through childbirth classes was part of that mental work. And clearing my own fears was part of that mental work. And I did that because I wanted to go into labor and have the baby just come. It worked really well because I ended up having 2 babies, not just 1, but 2 babies before my midwife could make it to me. Now, I'm not saying that I recommend that you do that unless that happens to be something that you want to do, but I can guarantee that if you take that time to do that mental preparation, and if you take some time to think through saying, I just want to step into that power, into my power, and work with my baby and birth my baby, then you'll go into things and things will move faster. And the things that you do to prepare will help you learn things that move faster. And that's something we won't have time to talk about today. But I promise you that if you say, I'm ready for things to get heavy, let's just do this, then things will happen faster for you and your baby.